Being derivative and good is better than being original and bad. Originality is overrated, plain and simple. This is one where I'm going to admit to being a bit of a hypocrite. One of the reasons that I love the film Soul and gave it such high regards is because it was different than most other films. And when you watch a lot of media, whether or not it's your job, you start to notice a lot of trends that repeat over and over again. Like, when it comes to the Emoji Movie, people said it was either a ripoff of the Lego Movie or Wreck-It Ralph, but they couldn't put their finger on which one. That's because the Lego Movie and Wreck-It Ralph are more or less the same movies with different coats of paint. There are some differences between them, but they are largely the same. And you know what? That's fine. They're both fantastic films. It's refreshing to get something new once in a while, when it's done well. Soul is a good film any way you slice it, different or not. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but very few people have gone out of their way to call it bad. Meanwhile, let's talk about Masters of the Universe, which defied expectations by killing off He-Man twice, and starring a character that was not a star of the show, and it did a horrible job at it to boot. Critics praised how it defied expectations. Now, that statement comes up a lot this day and age, as a defense for a lot of bad movies or shows. It defies expectations, like that automatically makes your work good or even interesting. This ignores the one master expectation. Audiences expect the show, the movie, the book to be good, and that is usually the first expectation that is defied. And you know what you get when you defy that expectation? You get shit. Lion King is just Hamlet. It's still a great film, though. Beauty and the Beast is based on a book, and no one gives a crap for that. Rise of Skywalker has been praised for defying expectations, being totally original. Meanwhile, the original Star Wars just used a bunch of Flash Gordon serials with the hero's journey, something detailed in the book called The Hero with 1,000 Faces, because this non-original story has been passed down for thousands of years, because it resonates with us so well. The story of Moses is the hero's journey. Clichés are clichés for a reason. Original is not a synonym for good. Original is not a synonym for interesting. And considering how many shows and movies are doing things differently and trying to subvert expectations in the exact same way, original doesn't even seem to be a synonym for original anymore. And let's go to the basic point. There's nothing new under the sun. It is impossible for the human brain to invent something from whole cloth. Every idea that you've ever had, that I've ever had, is just working with bits and pieces of things that we've seen or experienced. And that's okay. Now, keep in mind, none of this is a defense for outright plagiarism. You still do need to put your own spin on it. But if it looks a little bit like something else, or there's references, or it's inspired by something, that shouldn't be a shameful thing. And just because it looks nothing like anything else that's ever been done before doesn't automatically make it good. Some things don't exist for a reason. That's just the creative process. That's what it is. There is no shame in giving something old a new coat of paint. And of course, it's nice to have variety. Most of us don't want plain potato chips every day. But I don't doubt that very few of us would trade plain potato chips for dirt and asbestos flavor. It's new, original, and not exactly appetizing. And once again, I'm going to say that I'm a hypocrite here. Either that or I'm developing. The two can look quite similar. I've been annoyed about cliches in the past. I made a whole list about them. Actually, I made a few of them. But there are some cliches and trends that I like no matter how many times I see them. For instance, I never seem to get tired of space episodes, body swap stories, and Who's on First still makes me laugh no matter how many variations I've seen on it in 1,000 different comedies. And of course, there are specific cliches that will continue to annoy me, but there's usually more of a reason than they're overdone. The dance party ending, for instance. At first glance, it's super overdone and that's why it's annoying, but then you look a little bit closer. Movies with dance party endings tend to use them instead of having a falling action, showing basically what happens after the end, how everyone is doing after the events of the story. It's an important part of the story, and a lot of animated movies just use the dance party ending to not have that. I will say, if there's nothing interesting about something, a show like Barnyard or Robot Boy, for instance, it's still pretty bad. There needs to be some kind of draw. A work of fiction does need an identity, to put in some kind of effort, instead of just going through the motions. A show does need to be interesting, and original is not a synonym for interesting.